Now, when I was preparing for civil service, or now when I teach also here, see, we always see there is a bilateral relation. We study Indo-US, Indo-China, Sino-Indian, or Indo-Bangladesh, Indo-Pakistan, and multilateral, say SAARC and all. Now, what is this bilateral relation? How it evolves? What is the role played by people like you?
See, like I think that is the core bread and butter of diplomacy. Yeah, engaging with countries and developing bilateral relations with countries, and multilateral is like UN or BRICS or all this together, and it evolves with our shared interest and our shared values. This is how the countries, because they also have a national interest. If we have a shared interest and shared values, our relations evolve and become stronger and stronger. See, just to give you some example, if you have a very simple relation with a country, you will trade with that country. Okay, I have rice which I can sell at a particular price, I will trade with them. But the moment the factors of those terms are not favorable, I can change it to some other country. But the next level, if you see, is investments. So you invest in the other country and that country invests in you, which creates linkages, which strengthens the relations. If you take it to one step further, then joint ventures, which is like you collaborate in technology, you do many more things together, which strengthens the linkages further. So if you see, when this relation evolves, the apex is called the strategic cooperation. So when a country, in normal parlance, you have political relations with countries, you have economic relations with countries, and you have cultural relations with countries. These are, in common parlance, these are the normal factors or variables in which you operate. But beyond that, if you start cooperating in defense, if you start cooperating in security, if you start cooperating in civil nuclear programs, if you start cooperating in space, counter-terrorism, this gives it a strategic dimension, and the bilateral relations will evolve into a strategic cooperation or a strategic partnership. So this is how a bilateral relationship evolves between countries.
Now, you are one IFS officer who has spent in foreign service almost 2 decades. Now, so any important or memorable events where you are involved in some foreign policy decision of our country?
See, as I said, the 3 years that I was in Southern Division, where we handled all ASEAN countries, Australia, New Zealand, and also the Pacific Island countries, that was an eye opener. It really gave a lot of insights on what happens, how foreign policy operates, and we were continuously at all levels. We were contributing to this, and it was churned out. Our Act East policy, or so many things. We were actively involved in promoting Act East policy, because all 9 of our countries were ASEAN countries. But if you ask for a memorable thing, that is the evolution of the Indo-Pacific policy of India. So this policy evolved when I was in Southern Division, and it emanates from Southeast Asia. That is the crux of the Indo-Pacific policy, where India sees from the Eastern Ocean of Africa to the Americas as one inclusive area, and treats it as one inclusive area. If you see, the high point of the evolution of this Indo-Pacific policy came when our Prime Minister went and spoke in Singapore at the Shangri-La Dialogue on 1st of June 2018. When I was also there, I was sitting in that meeting. But as it evolved, I also contributed, I also learned, and it evolved during my times. I could see how partners like several other countries with similar values contributed to it, and it was one memorable policy that I was also involved in.
Now we hear some places embassies, some places high commissions. Now what is the difference actually?
See, basically all the Commonwealth countries where we have embassies, they are called high commissions, and the rest are called embassies. So when Commonwealth was still, in the beginning days, it was this was named, and that is how it continues to be. So basically, Commonwealth country, if you have an embassy, it's called High Commission, and in other countries, they are just embassies.
Okay. Now, whether it is embassies or high commissions, it is not just IFS officers. You may be 2 people or 3 people, but so many other people will be there supporting staff and all. Now, how they are recruited? If someone who sees this program wants to see other than IFS, is there any other way
Yeah.
to work?
Yeah. See, like all the staff selection commission exams, steno. See, we like you rightly said, you can hardly have a 2 or 3 IFS officers. The rest are all supporting staff. When they write the staff selection commission or steno exams or other subordinate services, they give a preference, and if their preferences are, if they get what they wanted, and if their ranks are good in other exams, they land up in MEA. And they also are they are also like, they do 2 postings abroad and then go back to headquarters, where they are also like section officers, assistant section officers and other things. When they are in MEA, and when they come out, they are called attaché or assistants and others. So that is how it operates. It's the same central government exams that they take, and that is how they come outside after they join. They basically are MEA staff, and keep going around from missions and posts abroad.
Now, from embassies and high commissions, how frequently you interact with our Ministry of External Affairs, and what is the nature of reports and all, whether how frequently you have to send reports, what will be the nature of those reports?
See, as I said, we are the eyes and ears, because, not to boast something, because nowadays you get everything on Twitter, and, you like, it's like, before we know, sometimes, like, just to give an anecdote, I handled the Hajj operations, which is one of the largest operations of government of, not one of the largest operation of government of India outside its borders. So at one point there was an accident, and I was just staying one street away. I could hear the ambulances going, but I was still trying to collect the information exactly what had happened. But my secretary called on my mobile and clearly told me that this has happened. Go to that particular place and give me a better report of what is happening. So that is how information flows these years. But then but when it comes to analysis, when it comes to assessment, and that is, you have to be there, and you have to take a call. So like in many countries, you have opportunities, you have threats, you have so many things happening. And generally, if you ask for, we send weekly reports. That is very normal in nature. The political developments and other developments, economic developments and other things, it is a very normal. But we send also important dispatches, which are assessments of what is happening, and what are the opportunities for India, or if we have to be alert about something. So these are assessments and dispatches, which are also very important, and based on which Ministry of External Affairs reacts. These are the 2 major way we report. And also for commercial purposes, you have a commercial wing in every embassy, and they report to the Ministry of Commerce and the Economic Diplomacy Division in Ministry of External Affairs about routine exports, the queries that come, the delegations we attend, business delegations we receive, what are the facilitations we do. So this is all put in in a nutshell and given to the Ministry of Commerce and the Economic Diplomacy Division of India. That is how it is done.
Okay. Do IAS officers also get postings in some diplomatic missions? Because many who are also will be IAS aspirants also, other than IFS. So all want to know, because hearing you saying, so someone who wants to get into IAS also, whether they have some chances.
Yeah, I think, it is mostly functional in nature. So when you are a small embassy, you do multiple jobs, you wear multiple hats. But as the missions expand, as our relations grow, and, your personnel also they also start growing. So I have seen many IAS officers from the Ministry of Commerce being posted abroad for commercial posts. But I have also seen the Indian ambassador to WTO, which is the permanent mission of India in Geneva. I have always seen it's an IAS officer. So there are several IAS officers also, but mainly when they work in ministries in Delhi, from there they will be posted to posted abroad.
Okay, now there are some organizations which all want to enter, say United Nations, WTO, WHO, like that. Whether IFS officers, they can easily enter that, or it's like for other officers also, like IAS, or equal chances, or IFS have better chance?
No, I think in like I have seen when when UN postings come out, they are more than in headquarters or in offices. They have field jobs which has specific requirements which many of the IAS officers are, or in other even for that matter if you have doctors of AIMS or railway service officers, many of them qualify for these things. But when it comes to, of course, people who have worked in multilateral bodies, for them, they may know of openings coming up in in headquarters of various organizations. But I have seen in field work and other things, it is mostly it is non-IFS people who generally go, and they actually shine well there too.
Now, PMO, Prime Minister's Office, that will be a dream for so many people. Every service wants to, because PMO is the most powerful body, they say. Now, whether IFS officers get posted to PMO?
Yes, the whatever the division that deals with foreign policy in PMO, you will have a joint secretary, director, deputy secretary handling various regions and coordinating with MEA. So and even secretary to PM, one person at least who deals with the external connections. Because a lot of politics it has an international dimension. It's not only domestic politics. So many meetings, G20 is coming, you have so many things all around, and this is the IFS officers do work in PMO.
Now, there may be some countries which we may not be that friendly and all. So, just I want to know whether there are some civil and, say, is there an immunity for the Indian Foreign Service people against civil and criminal proceedings in such countries? Because a false case can also be done. That's why I'm asking.
No, yeah, diplomats are governed by the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, this 1961. So there are some, you get immunity. Maybe, in an embassy, it is much more than a consulate, because consulate is consular, and in embassy, you do political, job. Since we are governed by the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations, there is some kind of immunity, so that people can also feel secured, like in case, like as you said, something is there, they may be, in the back of their mind, they may have this secured feeling.
Now, one more thing I want to know is, see, IFS means they get a lot of salary. Okay, is it true? And because you get in dollars, okay, definitely your expenses will also be much higher, which we do not know. But whether that salary is tax free?
Yes, see, when you work in India, like you have the basic salary, you have dearness allowance, and so many allowances. Like that, when you come outside, while your basic salary will stay, you also get a foreign allowance to manage the cost of living, the variations that you have, and the various things that you have to do outside. So, yes, definitely, and it is tax-free, and it is reasonably good to have a decent living outside the country, and and it is tax free. And if you are if you are a spendthrift, like I had one of our ambassadors who came from a very, a very strong background, and he told that like half of his tenure, he used to get money from India to meet his expenditure, because he used to play golf, he used to do so many things and all. So if that is the case, if you are not a spendthrift, and if you can manage well, you can definitely save better.
And when IFS officers get posted in India, say Ministry of External Affairs, at that time, whether you have to pay tax?
Yeah, of course. We are treated like anybody else, and you have to pay the same taxes like any. When you are in MEA, you are like any other joint secretary of any ministry. There are no concessions. Nothing is there. It's primarily, functional. Yeah, whether it's IAS officer or IFS officer, when he is posted abroad, he has the same privileges and other things. When you go back, you are at the same level as anybody else.
And do IFS officers get posted in the United Nations?
Yes, but to just give you, see, that is again like, UN keeps publishing the vacancies. They have several levels, and they keep publishing their vacancies. If you have the required expertise, and if you can do things well, you can apply for these jobs and go. But more importantly, if you see the PMI, or the Permanent Mission of India in New York and Geneva, these are the places where our diplomats work, and they work in close coordination with the UN. So if you are working in UN is something different, and working with UN is something different. Working in UN, you will have to apply for the openings, and we will have to go. And then with UN is like you work in PMI, and then you can work in New York or in Geneva, and you can get involved in all multilateral decision making. Like 21, 22, India will be in the Security Council, and PMI will be bubbling with action. Permanent Mission of India in New York will be bubbling with action. So that will be a great place to work for the coming 2 years.
Okay. Now, one more thing we keep hearing is, if someone works in United Nations for 5 years, consecutive years, after that they'll get pension. Is it true?
I have heard of this. They get a good pension after when they complete 5 years or plus in the UN. I have seen some of our colleagues who have been there, and who have continued to be there and get a good pension. Yeah, it is true.